boy. It's Daytona week. Again, Woo! Taco's favorite. Probably my least favorite. Actually, Daytona is not as bad as like Talladega, and Atlanta is pretty entertaining now. But regardless, a huge opportunity for DFS players pretty consistently over the last decade that NASCAR has had DFS. These have been the biggest money-making slates for the DFS Army for sure, and I know for Taco for sure as well.
It's this race specifically. You can have a green flag Daytona 500. You can have a green flag Talladega. A playoff cutoff race in both series full of knuckleheads. Guaranteed. And I love it when it's guaranteed.
Yeah, and it's very guaranteed tonight. Not only is it all those things, not only do we have at least 2 planned cautions for stages, but we're going to have even more cautions for that for lightning delays. Guys are going to have to sit for 30 minutes and think about it. We're going to have lots of cautions toward the end of the thing. As far as carnage goes, it's pretty much mutually assured in this situation for both races, but the Xfinity race for sure.
Yep, and that's going to be the big question here. How does that affect things historically? I mean, the trend has just been super duper consistent.
Yeah, we'll get
Rex.
We'll get into the historical data here in a minute. About an hour and a half to lock. I don't know. It seems like they had resumed race activity, so it's possible. We'll get started on time. No matter what, I suspect they'll get the race in tonight, or at least some racing. It probably will be a choppy. There might be rain showers, but that's just Daytona. That's what we see at this race pretty much every year. Some notable things here. Normally, we'll spend this time talking about the track type and the tire type and all those different things, but really not a factor this week. It's pin it down as hard as you can and go as fast as you can. Don't hit the guy in front of you. Let off. There'll be some fuel saving and stuff, but as far as the strategy that we usually have to talk about, the tire conservation, none of that really matters this week. It's really just all about circumstance more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, this week it's really just run the top like 5 the whole race, just coasting, hanging, especially in the Cup Series race, conserving gas. Less so in this one, but he's run up in the top 5 all night and then just get taken out, finish 32nd because of a god-awful block or just getting hooked by someone desperate to get into the playoffs that needs to win.
Yeah, I think the one thing, too, that we've seen emerge in these races, maybe more, we've seen it in the Xfinity Series, too, but the manufacturer alliances have gotten very, very, very prevalent, and they affect the outcome of this race. I mean, this race, or maybe it was Talladega last year, whatever it was, you just had guys not willing to push the guy in front of them because they didn't want to push them to a win, or they didn't want to push somebody to a win that would upset the playoffs and get a new winner. There was all sorts of circumstances around manufacturers' alliances that make these races even more kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, and Chevy has the sheer numbers and probably the best engines, as where Ford has the slight advantage over in the Cup Series. So there's a little switch. Like the ECR engines, we see it with the RCR cars especially, are just gone, and that's pretty much all the Chevys that aren't JR. Pretty much.
With that in mind, you don't spend much time stacking or trying to find correlation between manufacturers. It's just too unpredictable, even though there is what's he say? Host, your mic is a lot higher than Taco's. Can we bleep down? Am I too loud or is Taco too low? I'll put my mic here. I think I can turn it down. Hello. Hopefully
check.
Better. Yeah, I can't hear myself.
So I turn myself up just a tiny bit, but
I turn myself down just a little bit.
So yeah, the manufacturer stack probably more of a thing tomorrow than today. And today is just like over half the field Chevy.
Yeah. Okay. My boy says better. Thank you. All right. We'll try that. The only other piece of news that's going to shake up this race is the Connor Zilch situation. Obviously, Connor broke his collarbone about 2 weeks ago at the Glen. He will start this race, and he does start P1. though it seems like they will start at the back and immediately sub Connor out for Parker Kligerman, which is relevant for a couple reasons. Obviously, super DFS relevant. He'll start the race. He'll be scored for DFS purposes. And the other reason it's relevant is it's mostly a write-off, but it's at least worth talking about because Parker Kligerman is very, very capable on plate tracks, and this is by far in any series the best car he'll ever have.
Yeah, the only problem is
I don't even
we
know.
haven't had a pole sitter even come close to being competitive since, I mean, Dale Jr. really, like, sure, Austin Hill can dominate, win off the pole in the spring race at Atlanta. Here in the summer race, I mean, that is absolutely not guaranteed. So the front of the field just does not score for shit in this race.
Yeah, so you can almost take Connor Zilic out of your lineups on Checkham.
Oh, you can, absolutely. You should not play any Connor Zilic. The questions on top of just the pole sitter never coming close to being optimal, averaging like 11 fantasy points.
If you want to chase, okay, Connor Zilic is going to start from the pole, drop all the way to the back, switch driver, and Parker Kligerman's going to go and not only win the race, but dominate enough to be fantasy relevant. If that's the script you want to play,
just bet it.
Yeah, find another way.
Because people are still going to play Connor Zilic. Like I did a $20 snake draft right before hopping on this pod. Even now, when the starting order's been out, Connor Zilic went first overall.
Yeah, definitely some upside to playing those snake drafts. But yeah, let's hop into the research station here. And as ever, let's start with historical performances. Actually, we'll go to historical summary. Taco, I'll let you take over here. Are we looking at averages by starting five?
Yeah, and you can see it's pretty clear. Top five averaging 15 fantasy points, 30th on back averaging well over 30. So it's a very linear scale. And yeah, it's pretty much just start dudes starting 30 plus. If you go to the historical performances and just look at the top overall scores, they're all guys starting the 30s. It's either that or Cup Series guys starting like the 20s and winning, like a Chase Elliott, Almirola, like way back in the day. That was just them smurfing. But in this race, it is all about who's going to start way, way in the back. And the top 10 scorers being optimal is definitely more common in the spring race than this race.
Yeah, I think if you go and you sort by it was fast laps, you'll see nobody in recent time has scored more than 10 total fast laps. I mean, I think Jordan Anderson at the start of this year was just riding around the back and trying to get the fast lap over and over again, I think.
Oh yeah.
But you see there's just no consistency in dominator points. If you sort by laps led, an outlier Brian Scott performance, but even still, the highest lap leader, it's about a 50% chance they make the optimal. Maybe even.
And most of those races are farther back. Like recently, we have not seen a top 10 starter really do much. I think we've only had a couple just barely be optimal starting from the top 10, and they're starting like 9th or 10th and winning the race and doing other things.
Yeah, it's just pure place differential. The other thing I think is sort of interesting to look at is if we sort by that and then sort by start, you can get a pretty good visualization of how rare it is. So what does this go back to? 2015? So 10 years?
Yeah.
One time in that 10 years has a Daytona pole sitter hit the optimal. Obviously, it was Austin Hill. He started first, finished first, and just led just probably barely enough to hit the optimal. Still only scored 57. And you can see that's a pretty consistent trend. One or two coming from the top 10. And then when you get to the back half of the top 10 and longer, the appearances start being more. But you scroll all the way down here to the 30s, you'll see pretty consistent. I mean, what's this? 34th is the money position.
Oh, but they're all like that. If you keep going.
Yeah, I mean,
36 the money position, 37, 38.
So this is very much a race where you want to target those guys. I mean, look, if you play somebody that's starting in the 30s, look how many more instances, look how much more the probability is of you hitting an optimal player than if you play somebody in the top 10. Right? Just looking at this column. So that's something I like to keep in mind, especially when we break down these races. I think that's something that you need to switch your mentality on a little. It's less about car and driver. I mean, there is some of that. Obviously, RCR has some sort of advantage here. You need a car capable of keeping up with the pack, or at least staying on the lead lap. But much less than looking at car and driver, I would look at situation and find comparable situations. And we'll do that as we go through. But yeah, this is very much, if you're new to DFS, if you're new to NASCAR DFS, this is very much different than you would have done for the last couple weeks. This is almost a different game entirely.
And you can take any semblance of lead laps and fast laps that these guys up front have gotten and potentially cut them down to half if the race is shortened tonight, which is a real possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a question earlier as my headphones begin to die. Where did I see? Wait, they can do a rain delay and then race more. Yeah, so if they don't get to halfway tonight, if they don't race 60 laps, if they race 1 lap to 59 laps tonight and they can't finish, then they'll do it tomorrow morning, I would assume, unless maybe they would do it Sunday.
NASCAR doesn't feel like it. We have seen that before.
Yeah, and they'll just run 2 laps in the pouring rain. I assume the race would be tomorrow morning, but I don't know about that. It could be Sunday too. So keep that in mind as you're potentially tying up your budget.
Probably Sunday, because it's not a holiday. They're just kind of avoiding football this time of the year. We've had 2 Saturday races in a row in Cup.
Yeah, I don't think maybe they could if it was early enough, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on during the day. My voice cracking, Jeep. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that goes on the day of a Cup race that would make it hard to run a supplemental race the same day. So it might be Sunday. Keep that in mind if you've got a X amount of dollars budget to play on NASCAR DFS this weekend. Remember, this race could tie you up till Sunday.
They will race up until like 1, 2 a.m. We have seen that before. They don't give a shit.
I think we'll get it in tonight. It's there's not a storm or anything. It's just typical Daytona.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not even been rain. The track isn't wet. It's just lightning.
Yeah, for sure. Let me take a big sip of the nectarine here. There we go. Try to get the voice to stop cracking. Let's go through this. We'll go through a lot faster than we normally do here because, like I said, it's much more about circumstance here than actual driver.
No point in sorting by salary. Let's just get that out of the way. Let's sort by starting position.
Yeah,
you are not going to use your salary. If you're new, if this race, like if you have $10,000 left, it's going to feel awkward. Do not feel awkward. We've seen optimals with 20,000 left on the table. Like 21,000, I think is the most I've ever seen. Completely irrelevant. We've seen optimals full on guys starting 30th and back. That is something that has been done. And even if 1 or 2 guys from the top 10, 15 like bleed in, usually the scores are so similar to the place differential guys, you don't need the actual nuts to win. That's the big thing about Daytona. If they're a big Rex, no one's going to have the nuts. No one. It's just about it's not about getting the top like perfect lineup. It's about getting like a top 1% scoring lineup.
Yeah. I was looking to that point. I was looking at something earlier. Where was it? I think it was Jeremy Clemens. What year did Jeremy Clemens? Yeah. Started 9th, won the race, and technically didn't hit the optimal.
Not even close, yeah.
Like, so it's so much more about, I mean, and Jeremy Clemens was probably like 6,000 salary. So it really just goes to show how irrelevant salary and even like it's really just about place differential. But yeah, we'll sort by starting position, and we'll start with Connor Zilic.
We can just skip this entire range and just talk about Austin Hill and Jesse Love. That's honestly the truth here.
Wait, here it is. Here, listen. Hopefully, I know Geek wasn't available tonight. He was out, but in honor of Geek,
I'd unfriend you. That's not how it works.
He could keep the top 5 streak going, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it wouldn't be him doing it. It would be Kligerman doing it. But the pole sitter at this race in particular, absolutely fucking not.
Yeah.
He's not Austin Hill.
One time in the last 10 years as a pole sitter, and it was Austin Hill, and that was probably peak Austin Hill in his like 2023 RCR, I think, won just about every plate race. So probably not going to happen. Sam Mayer,
No.
Same thing, just no path to the optimal. Sammy Smith, kind of the same way. Austin Hill is the first interesting one because he does have such a propensity to dominate these races, even at the start of the year.
Dominate and win. But what does he dominate and win? The spring race. This
Yeah.
is Austin Hill fade week.
Yeah, Austin, for some reason, like you can see it in his track history. Obviously, didn't get a good finish at Daytona earlier in the year, but was the best car and led a ton of laps. Other than that, it's bad run in the fall race, good run in the spring. Bad run in the fall race, good run in the spring.
Not even bad runs. It's just the thing about the wrecks and the carnage here is that since people are trying to make the playoffs, they need to fucking win. That's why we see guys starting way back in the 30s, like guys like that are way off of the pace, score top 20s here because the wrecks at the end happen up front. Usually at tracks, the wrecks happen towards the back. That's just kind of how NASCAR is, but you got to flip it on its head. The wrecks happen up front because of stupid blocks, desperation moves towards the end to win. This is just the week for that. And where does Austin Hill run? Up front.
Yeah, and you got to imagine too, obviously Austin Hill, there's plenty of ECR engines in this field, so it's not like Austin Hill will be among friends, but everybody in the field also, Austin Hill won't be among friends, but everybody in the field also knows that he's going to have the best car on the beat of the car to beat. If it's, do I help Austin Hill or do I help this other guy? The other guy's going to get the push most of the time too. That's just the reputation that Austin Hill has earned.
Mm-hmm. Everyone knows they have to block Hill.
Yeah.
He gets blocked more than anyone. They do not want to let him up front. That's why Love gets to squeak by usually.
Austin Hill really, I mean, even if he, like, what did he do at Daytona? He led like 50 laps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if he leads 50 laps and finishes first, he'll score 61. That'll probably hit the optimal, but anything worse than like a first, then things get a little muddier.
We haven't seen a pulse, or we haven't seen anyone really lead more than like 25 laps this race, though, is kind of the thing.
Yeah, because
especially
it gets so
the
jumbled
summer
up.
Race.
So Austin Hill will be a popular play. To Pataco's point, it's probably a good idea to be underweight on him, even though, you know, he is the rightful favorite. He has dominated this race. But even, like I said, just look at the situations. He starts fourth 2 times in the last 10 years. Somebody starting fourth has hit the optimal, both pre-COVID era. Other than that, there's been almost no notable runs. Ross Chastain and Joey Logano did it, but
they're smart.
It's just a matter of situationally, as good as Austin Hill is, and he's probably the favorite to win the race, and maybe he has a good chance at winning the race. It's just from a DFS perspective, you're chasing a situation that very rarely lands.
Mm-hmm. And then Allgaier, Foppel, Jones, completely skippable.
I'd unfriend you. That's not how it works.
Yep. No point even talking about them. Just fade them and carry on.
I will say one thing that's notable here is that you do see, for whatever reasons, that kind of, where is it? Yeah, that kind of back half of the top 10, you do tend to see some good performances. That's what makes me somewhat happier to play Jesse Love in this situation, especially considering he's been able to match everything that Austin Hill has done over the course of the last 2 years. He's right there with them. Even at Daytona here earlier in the year, he led 30 laps while Austin Hill led 56. Jesse Hill went on to win that race. Jesse Hill's just every bit as good at plate racing. Maybe not every bit as good, but as good as Austin Hill at plate racing. Comes from a range that we more often see, 4 times in the last 10 years. We've had drivers starting 9th, hit the optimal. Just a better situation for Jesse Love is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, a few of those times was like, Joey Logano or another Cup Series guy doing it. But yeah, I mean, we saw this in the spring race. Jesse Love, I mean, he's right there with Austin Hill. Austin Hill's all the attention on him. Love isn't going to get like it blocked as hard. He hasn't been a general jackass recently. So Hill's going to be contested way more than Love. So I think he's in a better spot here for sure. Plus he has decent play stiff. Like RCR is so good that starting 10th, that's actually all right play stiff, like enough to be playable. I'm not playing 26%. I'm going way under that, but I'm playing almost no hill. I'm sprinkling a little love in there.
Yeah, that's exactly the case. And that's kind of what you have to do is pick a couple of these guys starting in like the top 15 and sprinkle them in, try to steal in case we do have that dominator type race as an outlier scenario. But chances are you're just going to want to go pretty all out when it comes to place differential. Mm-hmm. Christian Eckes, Harrison Burton, not much there, I would say. Harrison Burton's obviously won Daytona in the Cup Series last year. I would be surprised to see him do anything but have an okay run here. Christian Eckes is a pretty good plate racer, but nothing really jumps out to me other than he's a colleague car. They tend to have pretty good strategy on plate races, but these guys just, you can't play anybody in the top 10. And I don't even think, as much as maybe like we'd like to play Brendan Poole.
I think first week all year, I think since maybe there's one other race like Atlanta or something, they're not playing Brendan Poole. So we'll see you next week, Brendan.
I unfriend you. That's not how it works.
I actually get a royalty from Geek every time I play that. So,
well,
Jeb Burton becomes somewhat interesting as a sprinkle play, but I think Jeb Burton, he started 13th here a couple years ago and hit the optimal. He finished top 5 in that race, led a couple laps. So it definitely can be done. But again, just even to the top 15, it's hard to get to any of these guys.
Yeah, a bit better at Talladega, where he almost won this year and has won before in the past. But if he wasn't starting 13th, I would really be interested in Jeb Burton. He's just good at super speedway racing, but starting 13th, sorry, bro.
Yeah, you're just kind of chasing I mean, it would have to be a career best run here since that 2021 season. Taylor Gray, Roger Carruth, Jeremy Clemens starts a little too high. I guess Nicholas Sanchez is probably worth a note, though he hasn't had much success at Daytona in the Xfinity series. He was a very good plate racer in the Truck series and started to have pretty good success here in Xfinity. Obviously, this is an RCR affiliate car, so I don't think we've seen him have the same amount of power that Jesse Love and Austin Hill have, but we have certainly seen him have an advantage over much higher than he usually has over the field. This is much closer to a pure RCR car, I think, than we maybe give it credit for. So this kind of becomes an interesting spot.
Yeah, he's playable. He's kind of the only playable guy in this range until you get down to Justin Haley.
Yeah, and this is when you start to see, I mean, only one guy starting 18th has ever hit the optimal. Brennan Gaughan. Shut up, Brennan Gaughan. But you'll start to see more instances appearing. 4, 3, 4, 3. This is when we start to be able to take a closer look. And it really starts with Justin Haley, who's just an amazing plate racer some way, somehow. Hasn't manifested itself into many standout performances over the course of the last couple of years since he started getting involved in Cup. But back when he was full-time Xfinity, he was very much the Austin Hill of his time. Him and AJ Allmendinger, colleague in general, really dominated these races. We haven't seen that out of him recently, but even when he ran these races a couple years ago in 2023, top 10 both times, pretty quiet races. Very viable, I think, here is Justin Haley.
Justin Haley is the first good play as we have crossed the halfway point to the good half of the field. I think he's going to be a little bit more on the popular side just because people are going to want to spend up. So that 10K, the most expensive of anyone, the second half of the field, going to get pretty popular. There are some better plays, but Haley is particularly good at Daytona. So he's right up there with the best of the best in the slate.
Yeah, and I think you can almost look at Justin Haley, too, given his track history, as a guy that could lead 25, 30 laps, lead a stint. Mm-hmm. Whereas some of these other guys that we're going to get really excited about, like Matt DiBenedetto and Anthony Alfredo and Patrick Emmerling, probably don't have the laps led upside. So Justin Haley is a nice kind of hybrid. Ryan Sieg is interesting to me, too. He was really good here in the spring is the word I'm looking for. Was up in the top 3 for most of the second part of that race. So another guy that's kind of viable, finishes fifth, finishes in the top 5. That's kind of what you're looking for. Sieg, another guy that's kind of viable.
Yeah, for sure.
Blaine Perkins, maybe not so much. I think Blaine Perkins had a similar starting position last year and kind of just stayed there, bumped up a few positions towards the middle of the race, and then wrecked out, got involved in one of those wrecks. So not the upside for Blaine Perkins.
Yeah, in 251, this is where we start to get to the bottom of the odds guy. Not that odds are all that important this week because it's kind of like whatever. But if you're doing a Blaine Perkins kind of play, you might as well just go to the very bottom. That's kind of how the slate is.
Yeah, absolutely. William Sawalich, we haven't seen him have any sort of I don't know if it's ability or any luck, somewhere between the two at plate races. Had a top 10 in Atlanta.
Average running position 9th. It's just the DNFs when he's
struggling to finish races. If you look at this race at the start of the year, ran pretty well inside the top 10 for most of that race. Just crashed out at the end. So some upside here for William Sawalich.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Gase, kind of just a fine PD play you can sprinkle in. Starts a little too high to get excited about, but you look at his track history, usually finishes in the top 20, and that's just because he doesn't take any risk. If 10 cars crash out, he'll finish 10 cars up. That's just kind of Joey Gase's playbook. Just starts a little too high to get too excited about here.
I will say the general rule of EGM is that if either E or G is in the car, they do a little bit better. And that is the G right there, Mr. Gaze. Just super consistent. Very low owned too, so not somewhat of an interesting play there. Starting 25th, not many people are going to be on that at all, but I mean, you can't determine who is going to finish these.
Yeah, but you can see Joey Gase's strategy pretty clearly, even when you look at the race from the February. Started 35th and just stayed there and gained a couple positions every few laps because people wrecked out and crashed, and then he finished wherever that ended up putting him, which was top 15. So I guess you could look at Joey Gase having a much lower crash risk than everyone else. So yeah, kind of an interesting play. Mason Maggio, not as interesting probably, but still the same strategy. We'll just hang out probably with Joey Gase, follow him around, and allow cars to wreck in front of him.
Yeah, the M in EGM stands for motorsports, unfortunately, and not for Maggio. So I don't really expect much out of him here.
Yeah, this
running position at super speedways of 31st, which isn't bad. It's doable. It's the same thing. He's gonna just be hanging back and chilling. But he doesn't really have the super speedway skill that someone like a Gaze has.
Tattoo checking in. What's up, brother? Now we get to the fun plays. Now we get to the golden plays. Sheldon Creed.
Wow.
I mean, just kind of sneakily, one of the cleanest Daytona track histories you could ever have. I mean, 2 bad runs in 22 and 23, but other than that, consistently well inside of the top 10. Pretty good at road courses in general, but something about Daytona really seems to resonate with Sheldon Creed.
Yeah, RCR will do that. Not the RCR anymore, but Ford, I mean, nothing to scoff at here. Yeah, still very much a top 5 upside fella here, and not going to be the highest owned this range. He should be if it wasn't for Mr. Eric Almirola right there. So if you're in a coin flip between those two, I'd say just take the lower owned dude.
Yeah, and I'll to point out, like, okay, we've made it down to 27th, so we can scroll down to 27th. Now we're consistently seeing 4, 3, 4, pretty consistent instances of getting into the optimal. So Sheldon Creed, I would say kind of 26 back is when you can be pretty confident that you're going to get a play that has the right amount of upside you need. Sheldon Creed definitely fits that bill. Eric Almirola, just as talented, borderline an A-tier plate racer in the Cup Series. Won a couple rain shortened Daytona races, if I remember correctly, and maybe even won a not rain shortened one.
He won I know he won the Talladega race where Stuart Haas was just OP as shit running 1, 2, 3, 4. It was like a few races after taking over for Danica after she couldn't get more than one top 5 in 10 years.
I think
yeah, he's very much a either flat or super speedway, just gonna get a big boost kind of guy.
Yeah, and starting 29th, obviously going to be a very popular play. So Creed and Almirola both kind of smash plays and should be, if you're playing snake drafts, the top kind of picks in any snake drafts.
Oh, 1, 2, 100%. But their ADP is like 6 and 8, probably up a little bit by now. But yeah, Almirola, the chalk, Creed second chalk. I really don't see any situation in which those two are not the highest owned. So that's the one thing going against them here. But they're just in terrific spots, and they're both great super speedway racers too.
Let me ask you, when you were drafting all these snake drafts during the week, were you kind of drafting around the idea that qualifying could be canceled?
I waited in a little bit, and it kind of kept me off a few guys. So I'm very not off, but just under on a few guys. So that's really nice. I wish I would have drafted a little bit more Cup based on not being qualifying. That was a little bit sad, but yeah, I just kind of waited in a little bit, so I didn't get as much like Creed or Almirola. The great thing about snake drafts, though, I've done like $300 worth of them so far just for Xfinity. If you end up underweight on a guy there, you can just hedge in regular DFS. That's going to be my move there. Just play a fucking shit ton of Almirola, and if it doesn't work out, then the snakes will carry me
for sure. I will say, kind of sandwiched in between Creed and Almirola is a fine play in Josh Bilicki, who ran fairly well, if I remember correctly, or finished fairly well. Kind of the same, the Joey Gase strategy, though not as intense. Ran well inside the top 20 for the second half of the race, and then ended up finishing 14th. Was as high as 11th at one point. So a bit of a hybrid between the Joey Gase avoid all the wrecks at all costs. Josh Bilicki has a little more juice. He's able to run in the pack and be competitive, but probably going to go a little lower owned just because Josh Bilicki is an oversight most weeks, and he's wedged in between these two kind of dynamite plays.
Yeah, I think people only really think about Bilicki when it's a road course, but I mean, he's just a smart veteran driver at this point. Plenty of Cup starts, like he's fine.
Yeah, I would actually love this when nobody expects it. On the most carnage race of the year, Sheldon Creed finally gets his first win. I would love that. And it would be good for DFS because he's obviously going to be a popular DFS play. As far as Connor goes, I think the general consensus is that he's going to get out of the car pretty early.
He said out loud he's getting out of the car.
Yeah, so
he confirmed it. It said after stage 1, he's dipping, Clegg's getting in.
I would suspect it's at the first caution. I would be kind of surprised if they let him go the first stage. So yeah, I suspect Kligerman will drive that car home. Now we're just kind of in the range 30 back where all of these are kind of 20% plays at minimum. Kyle Sieg, obviously in the B tier RSS car, but that car has shown ability to run inside the top 15 at plate tracks. So another kind of just fine play based on the situation.
That's a pretty decent play because he's also going to be lower owned. Like he's the lowest owned projected play 30 on back.
Yeah. And you posted earlier he does have an ECR engine for whatever that's worth. I mean, you got to be careful with those. I know some people like to look into those. You don't know. They could have been an ECR engine that the ECR engine that Austin Dillon gets and Kyle Sieg gets. There's a difference between the wear and tear and the love put into those, but still shows you that they're trying and shows you that they anticipate getting a good finish here, and he's been able to do that before.
Yeah, I mean, just the nature of plate race, if you think about it, you just got to ask yourself, okay, Eric Almirola here is what, like 3-4 times the ownership of Sieg? Is he 3-4 times better of a play starting in almost the same spot with how random this race can be? I don't know.
Exactly. And you said earlier, the wrecks here usually start up front. Eric Almirola is going to be up front. He's not going to lay back and let wrecks happen. He's going to go and race. So I would say that his risk profile is actually much more severe than a guy like Kyle Sieg, who's probably not going to be able to run up at the front. He'll probably have to run mid-pack or back. So I would actually argue that Eric Almirola's risk profile is more severe than a lot of the guys in this range.
Mm-hmm. And also, Mr. JJT did point out, yeah, Seek's not even on the ECR engine list. He's in a Ford. So that kind of sucks.
That's silly of me to think.
Yeah.
But I think they do get, and what I was thinking of was they get engines from Ford. The ECR equivalent, I think RSS generally gets a Ford, at least Ryan Sieg does. So I'm guessing Kyle Sieg probably has an old Ford engine, or
he gets the hand-me-downs. I mean,
yeah.
Younger brother syndrome.
Yeah, that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever said on the podcast.
So far.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. Ryan Ellis, did we talk about him? I don't think we did. Another kind of similar to Josh Bilicki in a lot of ways, a guy that you kind of glance over week to week to week, but in this situation, starting 31st, pretty consistently been able to eke out top 20 finishes. At a more chaotic race like this, that becomes top 15. Another just good play.
Yeah, his race at Daytona, where he ended up finishing 23rd, he was running pretty well.
Yeah,
that race from what I remember up towards the end there, and then just got taken out just on some Daytona stuff. And Atlanta also had a really good run going, and then he got super speedwayed.
Anthony Alfredo next on the list in the 42 car. Harder to read. Certainly has the ability to run well here. Obviously a good PD play, but probably a little higher risk profile than a lot of these guys because he does tend to run towards the front. You see last year was up in the top 5 at points and certainly within the top 10. So I think his risk is a little higher here. So I almost downgrade him, but certainly that risk comes with a much higher upside. He is able to run inside the top 10.
Yep, absolutely. Alfredo is someone who will push for the lead because he can do that.
Yeah.
That's what the wrecks are.
Matt DiBenedetto, I think, ends up being my favorite play on the slate. Obviously, DiBenedetto is very good on plate races, but you can kind of put that aside because he doesn't necessarily have the car he needs. But even still, consistently top 15 at every single plate race this year. 11th at Daytona. Obviously, a great plate racer, as evidenced by his Cup career. And ran pretty well here in the in February. Just kind of hung out in the back and then made his push towards the end. This wasn't necessarily attrition. This was an effort to get to the front, and he was able to do so. So Matt DiBenedetto kind of grades out as maybe my favorite play on the slate.
Yeah, and he's going to be popular. I see a lot of people taking him over Creed in a snake draft. I think he even has a better ADP at this point. He should also be a Talladega winner, let it be known.
Yeah.
A Talladega Cup winner.
Yeah. That was during the Benedetto glory run that he had there for a couple weeks. But regardless, yeah, I think DiBenedetto is probably my favorite play on the slate. Will be popular based on name value and obviously track history, but still a good play. The Doc, Patrick Emmerling.
My favorite play.
Another great play. Has kind of really turned the corner and started to put together some pretty consistent runs in general, but he's always put together pretty decent runs at Daytona. Again, if you go back and you look at the running order, started 19th, very quickly fell back and just rode around and then started to make his push towards the end. Ended up finishing 10th, but didn't run nearly that well. But a lot of top 20 upside, which is all you need to get a top 10, as funny as that is to say. But
hanging back, that's what we want to see. We want to see the guys hanging back.
Yeah.
That's how you do it here. So shout out my boy, Patrick Emmerling. Really, really cheap. So shouldn't be as high owned as he ought to be.
Yeah, a lot of these
strategy here.
And again, it's like we said, Eric Almirola, certainly a higher risk profile than Patrick Emmerling, who's probably going to hang at the back, and similar upside as evidenced by their track history. I mean, 7th, 33rd, 3, 12th, 10th, which is better. So definitely a good play. Leland Honeyman tends to run a little more competitively, which obviously we know affects the risk profile. Last year was consistently in the top 15. So another guy that's a little higher risk, but higher upside as well.
I mean, the run of form at super speedways is really good. Honeyman is quite skilled, and this equipment has been better than expected. You see Cope on there. You think of Derek Cope running 37th. Not that that's even a bad strategy here, but he's really been able to run better than that equipment ought to.
Yeah, absolutely, and seems to have gained the respect of at least the top 20, so doesn't struggle to find help.
Well, you just deleted someone who's going to outscore like a third of the field.
I'll leave him on for that reason.
I'm taking Bearden over Zilich every time.
Yeah, fair enough. Garrett Smithley, been around for a long time. There definitely doesn't have the upside as like an Emmerling or a Honeyman. Doesn't necessarily run towards the front. You can see here, and he's really just going to take what he gets if he finishes at all. So probably my least favorite play in this range, but still, obviously, starting 36, a lot of upside.
Yeah, he hangs back, but also crashes. That's not what we want. I mean, you still got to have him in your mix here, but
yeah. Cesar Baccarella was a guy we kind of overlooked even on plate races for a lot of years. You can see it in the track history. He's been doing this for a long time and only just recently started putting together half decent plate race runs. A 7th and a 6th last year, 13th here in the spring. I think his upside's probably a little higher or lower than that in this situation. I think those are outlier type runs, but still, Cesar Baccarella has proven time and time again that he's capable of squeezing out half decent finishes in the Alpha Prime cars.
Mm-hmm. And pretty sure he's. Let me check here. Is he on the ECR list here? I don't think he is actually, but
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
this is what you want to see.
He's just gonna be dipping. I think he had to go to the rear on that one, but yeah, I mean Caesar, you see it in the finishes, even especially at like Talladega, and if you go back even further with the track type history, like he's got his 30s in there because you do be reckon GPP play definitely, but he has a lot of decent upside finishes in his repertoire already.
Yeah. Which brings us to what I believe to be the key to this slate. And I wasn't ignoring your comments. I just knew we were going to talk about it. What do you do with Natalie Decker in this situation? So let's start with the facts. This is the 92 car for DGM. Same equipment as Josh Bilicki has. Same equipment that Ryan Ellis has.
The car, the dog all year.
But a car that is capable. Like, this isn't a start and park. It doesn't appear to be. They haven't had great finishes, but save for the time that Ross Chastain's in the car. But at Daytona, at least, and at Talladega, capable of running with the pack. Natalie Decker has also shown an ability. Obviously, it was at Atlanta, which is a bit of a different situation. Or excuse me, it was at Daytona a couple years ago where she ran 18th. That was a very, very chaotic race, if I remember correctly. That was the 2023 fall race. But I don't know. She hasn't been in a car in a very long time. But this is a fine car with a driver who has run top 20 before, starting dead last. I don't know. I don't mind playing Natalie Decker. I mean, a lot higher.
The issue is, right, everyone calls her Natalie Decker, car wrecker. I mean, can't go backwards. Now, recently, there's been a lot of talk of new dad strength with Denny Hamlin, Keselowski. What about new mom strength? That's where she's been. That's why she hasn't been behind the wheel of a car in the last 9 months.
Yeah, and listen, that's the other thing you have to consider too. Hasn't been in the car in a while. It's not like Natalie Decker is going to go and run in the pack right away.
Yeah.
Chances are Josh Bilicki and Ryan Ellis and Natalie Decker and Joey Gase will all be clumped together pretty close, about 5 seconds back from the actual pack. So, I mean, we don't even need that much attrition. If Natalie Decker just runs in the back all day and finishes 25th, that's a 30-point kind of day, which obviously isn't going to kill any lineups. And if she squeaks into the top 20, that's pretty much guaranteed optimal. So,
yep. The only issue is that, you know, with most other drivers, if they haven't raced in a while, they're out dirt racing. They're out doing some kind of racing. They're all racing all the time. When you're pregnant, you literally cannot race. So that's the only concern. But starting last, I mean,
starting last with incentive not to.
You could pretty much play anyone in that. You could play me driving around there and just hanging back.
I would. But I to your point, like, I think that even helps us. Like, hasn't been in the car for a while, needs to get acclimated, didn't get to practice, didn't get to qualify, probably has barely sat in the car. You know, she's got to take a stage at least 10 seconds off the pace just to get her bearings again, which is
risk averse, which is
probably 4 or 5 positions right there. So as long as this car holds together, I don't mind this play at all.
Yeah, probably going to be the safest driver in the field, realistically.
And what if she finished last? She still scores you 3 points, which is, to your point, more than half than the field's going to score. So yeah, I don't mind Natalie Decken. And then Logan Bearden is going to score 0. We can put that in because they withdrew. But again, to Taco's point, that is more than a lot of people on this slate will score.
Yeah, that's it would have outscored Brandon Jones in the spring race by 26 fantasy points.
So there you have it. Let's go over to the odds. I'll give these a refresh. Actually, before we do that, whoops. Let's go back one. We'll do some housekeeping. All the information I just showed you, all the information I used on screen, the research station, the domination station, the cheat sheets where I give my opinions on every single driver. Most weeks, plate races, we do it a little different, but most weeks you'll get detailed notes on every single driver. You get the access to this cheat sheet, which is by far the most valuable thing in my life. Taco could literally ruin my life if he decided to stop putting these together week to week.
That ruined my life. Shoot.
It's the single greatest source of relevant information if you bet or if you play DFS NASCAR. Super important. You also get access to the domination station, whole bunch of other stuff. You just got to get signed up for the DFS Army. Link is in the description to this video. You can go on over there. They even got a promo code, VIP25. You save 10% off. This is a great time to get involved because there's, I think, 11 races in the next 30 days or something like that. It's a very busy time of year. And the slates get a little bit more interesting once everybody transitions to football. The strategy change, it gets very fun. All that to say, head on over to dfsarmy.com/NASCAR. Promo codes there, links in the bio, all that good stuff. You get access to all these tools, and you also get access to the Discord where we talk NASCAR all day, every day. It's all we do. Well worth the whatever you end up paying. There, I've done that. Now we can talk about betting. Win picks for tonight. I see Austin Hill starting to tumble down the odds board. Was 280, now plus 320.
I ain't betting any of this shit. What the fuck? Where's the top 10 for Natalie Decker or some shit? Like,
yeah, so
one bro said.
I will.
You can't get top 10s on me.
Y'all gonna need to put some pressure on Geek to make it a 50% off for. You know what? We're gonna get a coupon code Brady for next week. No, we're gonna get it for tomorrow, and we're gonna get a banger deal. What do they get for coupon code Taco?
10% off forever for the rest of their entire life.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I can compete with that. We'll get a coupon code Brady for tomorrow's stream, which will be for the Cup race. Geek will be there. Taco will be there. We'll get a good coupon code.
Hell yeah.
It's time. Yeah, I'll switch over to 365 here in a second. We'll get top 10s, but anything jump out at you just in terms of wins? Who do you think is going to win this race? Connor Zilich at plus 1,800?
You mean Parker Kligerman?
Yeah.
I know how DraftKings works. So with DraftKings, if Zilich starts the race and the driver is switched to Kligerman, Zilich still gets the fantasy points, the negative fantasy points. For betting, I'm pretty sure that would just be a null. So I don't know what you're betting Connor Zilich for.
Yeah, I don't know how that actually. I think Jesse Love would probably be who I bet on here, but I mean, it's really not worth betting on any of these. It's just too chaotic to try to go winner only. I think the better thing to do is
top 10s.
Oh wow,
You can't
top
get
10s.
them. Yeah, you get top 5. It's tough.
Top 5's tougher. As top 10s come out, if they do come out before lock, though, we're kind of pushing up on it here. It's really just a matter of targeting some of these back markers, because a lot of the time the top 10 odds are derived directly from the win odds. And so you end up getting pretty good value on, Cesar Baccarella, who's finished top 10
many
twice.
times.
Yeah. So, I mean, if he was plus 2,000 for top 10, but any of these guys, Leland Honeyman Jr. could finish top 10 pretty easy. Ryan Ellis, Josh Balicki, even guys like, Kyle Sieg, Josh Williams, Clement, Natalie Decker could finish top 10 if everybody else wrecks. So, yeah, they have top 5 too, but yeah, I wouldn't get too caught up in who's going to win this race, because that is a very difficult proposition.
One more angle for probably more for tomorrow, but it is important to check the prop kind of books like Pick Six. Not so much. Pick Six are a little bit sharper, but Prize Picks, Underdog, historically, you're able to smash the worst on whoever they've overrated, like a Larson worse than like 8.5 or whatever they put the number at. Usually very, very good for Prize Picks. Not as free as it used to be. It used to be like free printing casts. It'd have like Kyle Larson over under 5.5 at a fucking super speedway, but you're still going to want to smash worse across the board.
Yeah. And there's oftentimes they've gotten better at it, but the fast laps, used to be a huge one. They'd way overvalue fast laps, and you could bet the under and pretty much get a free square, but they've gotten better. We'll see what the numbers end up being. Mr. Sider has it right. Hit the like button. We actually get an extra month of employment for every like we get on these videos. So the more you hit the like button, the more we make Geek happy. The more you head over to the link in the description and get signed up to join us over at DFS Army, the more we make Geek happy and the more we can do these streams. But we're up against it here. What do we got? 40 minutes. I don't know if we're in lightning hold or whatever, but we should be getting started here before long. Go get your lineups in. Go get your snake drafts done. We will be back sometime tomorrow, I would assume. We'll get linked up with Geek. I know he wants to get involved with tomorrow's stream, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. I never got a win pick from you, Taco.
Jeb Burton.
Jeb Burton makes the playoff.
He's the highest number guy I could see on there that flirts with wins. Had the, I think he's won here before. Almost won at Talladega. Maybe it's Talladega where he won, but he's absolutely shown capability to be a potential winner. So I'm not betting it because the odds are ridiculously short at this point. But I would pick Jeb over anyone there. So I wanted to play him in DFS, but it's just not working out starting 13th. Unfortunate, but yeah, I would much rather take a little bet at him. It looks like we've got a pretty serious sell a bit up north towards Palm Coast going over the track right now. So it's a little rocky, kind of what we're expecting. But if it blows past, I mean, we have really avoided a disaster here because there was a gigantic hurricane that fortunately missed. It breezed off into the ocean, became a fish spinner, but that could have just postponed this entire ass race.
Yeah. So if we get any racing in tonight, we'll count our blessings. Let's just get a Sheldon Creed win tonight. Why not? I think a Sheldon Creed win is the funniest outcome for everyone involved. So that's what I'm going to cheer for. Like I said, we'll be in the Discord for the rest of the night through the race. We'll be back here live on this channel tomorrow. So like the video, get subscribed. We'll be back tomorrow, and we will talk Daytona Cup racing with Ryan Blaney on the pole. How do we handle that? We'll figure it out tomorrow. Until then, thank you for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow.